dash.
Thank you, gentlemen. Game 2 there for SKT. So looking good in this series so far. We had a lot of questions coming in about how red side teams would adapt to the pick and ban because of the Gragas. So we've now gotten the opportunity to see SKT on their red side as well. They chose to stick with the standard more GP Elise bans and not alter away from it as Origen did.
I think this is the standard purple side. Like, we don't want to lose pick and ban that hard. So you ban the Elise, give them the Rek'Sai, that's doable. I think the way they played it is they gave the Rek'Sai up knowing they want the Jarvan, because you see them take the Orianna early, and I think that's baiting Peke into an immobile mid. So that's where the Jarvan actually becomes more viable of a champion, when they do the Ori Jarvan into an immobile mid.
I think that's definitely true, and not only that, but it shows us something about SK Telecom's priority. Game 1, they banned Tahm Kench. Game 2, they first picked Tahm Kench on the red side. So they're making a trade right now saying that we would rather have banned the Elise, make sure you get Rek'Sai, as long as we get Tahm Kench. And I can't really argue it after that first game and how well Wolf played it, how many of his teammates he saved, the plays he was making with the Tahm Kench ultimate. It looked very, very valuable indeed.
Yeah, Tahm Kench's ability to stifle most aggression, even in the laning phase when they had to play from a pretty big deficit, because Niels came to lane with longsword and potions versus basically a very disadvantaged Tahm Kench, and even in the laning phase, they were able to stifle aggression.
Yeah, we saw a number of kills saved last minute by Wolf with the consumption of a teammate. Now I want to kind of take a look at how this played out in the early game. As you mentioned, they set up an immobile mid laner against EasyHoon and brought the Jarvan in, but we saw a lot of focus in the mid lane in general, which is not something we necessarily expected with these two teams matching up.
Yeah, I was actually really happy that, I mean, other than the amazing level 2 gank, I think that was a bit excessive for abusing mid lane mobility. But
Amazing's underwhelming level 2 gank.
Yes,
not the amazing level 2 gank.
I'm gonna come tax XP gank. But I really liked how they kept going for mid lane over other lanes, and then even SKT followed it with Sivir ulting mid, with Renekton running behind Anivia mid. Like, both teams were actually throwing a lot of things to kind of like punish these mid laners, because yeah, Orianna and Anivia both scale well, but are really weak during the laning phase of ganks.
Yeah, what I found interesting is we were like 25 minutes into the game, even though there was a lot of focus mid. I actually felt like it was an Origen game as far as the pacing of the matchup, until they continually tried to kill Marin.
Oh boy.
And it always led to just escalating levels of disaster.
Yeah, let's dive into this a little bit, because as you mentioned, Origen looked like they were sitting pretty with a relatively good scaling composition that was relatively even in gold. However, the difference in the top laners, as you watch the CS differentials over the length of the game, becomes very concerning for Origen.
Yeah, so I can see why they were trying to kill him, because they didn't want the CS difference to grow, but this is the second time in a row they tried to kill Marin. The first time was amazing, going underneath the turret. And by the way, even though Someday tried to convince you otherwise, Renekton is a tank in this game. So trying to overcommit with him with just your top laner and a little bit of backup is going to lead to disaster. He gets gobbled up by Wolf. The rest of the chase is failed because Origen was really scattered in the way they approached that. Look how late XPeke was to the party. They tried an aggressive chasing play onto a tank without vision of the enemy jungler, when in reality, Origen was actually doing great to stall out the game. They did not need to make an aggressive move here. Renekton is not like Fiora, and it won't be the big problem in their as it was last game. Renekton's never going to solo kill you inside your base, even if he gets 500 CS. This was not a play Origen even had to make.
I mean, I think that's true to a certain degree, but they have to play they don't have to necessarily make that play, but they at least have to make it safe for so as to farm. Because in the 2 games we've seen so far, Marin up 147 CS at the end of game 1, 125 at the end of game 2. So honestly, Origen has not been doing a good job of putting the necessary vision down to farm the waves. So they're just losing a lot of CS on the map, while Marin is picking it up every time. And it's creating these massive farm differentials.
I think almost some of this is a bit pure pre-game knowledge. I think Marin knows where Amazing's going, even without wards. Yes, SKT has better like deep wards than Origen does, so he has more information, but even without that like vision, I think he knows, so as is going to be on the island right now, I can push this out, I'm safe. And every single time, yeah, Amazing's mid or bot right now. He hasn't really been showing that much pressure top, and Marin's playing that way, that no jungler's coming top.
So what do you attribute, though, SKT's ability to pick up all this extra CS in the side lanes? Because you mentioned the statistic of how much further Marin is ahead, but when we look at the other 2 matchups, mid and bot lane, they're relatively even throughout the entire game. So it's really just in that top lane that Marin is picking up those advantages.
Well, it's about how you control the minion waves, right? And setting up situations where you can get long lanes of farm and then shove them back out. And that just shows that SK Telecom is really farming 3 lanes and Origen is consistently only farming 2. So they're getting a third of their farm goal just chopped right off.
Well, a big punishment in the wave control is they have Tristana. So they can no longer freeze with their AD carry. They can no longer set up these slow pushes because it goes so quickly with the Tristana E. So if they want to make a better kind of minion wave thing, if this is kind of the key that's going to get Soaz back in the game, I think they have to move away from the Tristana.
Faker on your screen making his way into the arena because he will be stepping in for Game 3. SKT is just 1 game from closing out the series to advance to the 2015 World Finals. We'll see if they can close out the series and to keep their perfect record alive with Game 3 versus Origen. Stay with us.
Right now, SK Telecom T1 10-0 in the World Championship. They're going for win number 11. Peke, meanwhile, turned into an egg, and the push comes in. Oh! But Amazing is here! The 2-man knockup trades onto Bang. Here they come for the fight. Wolf is low, but has the gray help. Niels will go down to Bang. Takes the wrong state. With Dissonance, will pick up that kill as well. There's a double for him. The rest of the fight continues. Peke knocked up, stops the Glacial Storm. And SKT are 1 game away from their 2nd World Championship final.